Dfs, aka ship my modem or ship my router. It depends on the day. But Adam, how are you doing today?
Doing good, man. Baseball season winding down. Got a couple slates today. 5-gamer tonight looks interesting enough. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm actually really surprised there's a 5-game slate at this time of year because you think everyone's trying to finish out those 162, but we got it. I guess there were 6 games earlier in the day. We got a little nice early slate. Did you end up playing that?
No, I didn't.
Well, you might have missed out, man. I honestly don't know. I have a bunch of golf lineups going on.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's a Monday to Thursday, so the sweat is it never stops, but it's hard to tell exactly what's going on where. But I'm excited for this 5-game slate. The 5-game slates obviously are a lot different animal than 15 games. There's 1/3 of the players to choose from. So just in general, high-level approach, what's your kind of adjustment that you make on such a small slate compared to a normal full slate?
I mean, I think it makes sense to just, naturally to weight ownership a little bit more. Obviously you're still trying to build the best lineups that you can at the lowest, ownership, but on the bigger slates where if you're just saying, oh, I don't want to stack the highest owned team, for example, they might be, you're still going to have guys on that team that are relatively low owned. That team as a whole is going to be lower owned. Whereas on the shorter slates, sometimes you will have that highest owned team where everyone or all the good players at least are, 25+%. And then you're really, really getting an edge by not being there. Whereas, on the bigger slates, if the highest owned team is, 9% owned, cool. That's still 91% of the field that you're competing with, even if that team fails. So I think that naturally ownership just becomes an even bigger part.
I have to agree with you. I mean, especially on today's slate, I'm seeing some options that should be highly owned. And in baseball, it's just so random that the chance of any individual player or team as a whole having a bad day is just so likely. And you really need an outlier performance to win a tournament, usually 10 or more runs. So if you agree with me and Adam here, and you want some of this chalk to fail so we can all win some tournaments here, throw us a like. Of course, we're about to do today a deeper dive by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. They have the 12K prize pool tournament at MLB, and I'm also looking forward to their 400K baller this week for NFL. You can get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points by signing up through Osmo. And what you have to do, go to the Spotlight Hitters article, click the link on there, and use the sign code Osmo. And actually, one other thing I really like about Yahoo is I think it's one of the best places to play head-to-head contests. Definitely superior to Draftkings and Fanduel. Because you're able to block as many people as you want. In a head-to-head, I mean, you're only going to make money if you're superior to your opponent. You need to have a big edge, and being able to eliminate some of the tougher competition right off the bat and play some of the recreational players is going to really help out. They also have the quick match feature for MLB. If you're just getting started off, you should be able to get into some good contests. Adam, have you played any cash on Yahoo yet?
Have I played any what on Yahoo?
Cash.
Oh, very little. I definitely should play more though. Definitely, I agree with you. I don't really play cash in general, but if I were gonna play, then Yahoo is the spot to do it, just for all the reasons you said.
Yeah, I think that that block feature is really helpful. I know FanDuel doesn't offer it. Yeah, DraftKings allows you to block up to 10 people, but a common thing I hear among people playing cash is that they're playing really tough competition right out of the gates. So I think Yahoo will help out a lot with
that. I'll definitely be firing some up for NFL this week.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I've had a lot of success using my projections and cash. It's all about the games you play, of course. So make sure you sign up for the membership so you can get those. So we got this 5-game slate. As far as playoff picture, are there any games you're looking to tonight that could be relevant?
So I think the A's are still in it. Cubs are out. Pittsburgh obviously is out. Mets were eliminated last night. Miami was eliminated in April. Indians still have something to play for. I'm pulling the standings up now to double check. like the Astros, like obviously they've won the division, but I'm not sure if they've clinched the American League. They clinched the division. They haven't clinched the best record yet. So Houston, I guess, still has a reason to play. Cleveland is 5.5 out in the division, but they are a game and a half out of the wild card. So they still have something to play for. Angels are done. A's still have something to play for. Mariners are done.
So the teams that have a little bit of incentive are Cleveland, Oakland, and Houston, just to confirm.
Yep.
Awesome. I think it's really interesting. My observation in sports has been that as long as there's just something to play for, teams will be a full go. Once they've clinched the playoff spot, but they have nothing to play for, that's when the breaks really start going on. But then if they're eliminated completely, then you don't have to worry as much because they're not trying to rest guys for the playoffs. Is that kind of your take?
Yeah, and then one extension of that too, and it's kind of like we had talked about with the Orioles was the example we used yesterday. But some teams, you're just going to get a younger lineup where then you really have nothing to worry about because their goal at this point is entirely different from winning games or resting guys or anything like that. They're just trying to evaluate talent that they have on their roster. So, a team like Miami, guys like Brinson and Dean and Diaz, not that you're interested in rostering them, but guys like that, like you're not worried about the rest or anything. Like those guys are out there completely motivated to play because they're playing for a spot next year.
Yeah, definitely. When the guy's on the field, I think everyone knows MLB, they really judge you based on the stats, and too often they're not using splits. Like, are they in playoff contention? Are they not? So the garbage time at bats are just as valuable to your contract as the high leverage spots. So I think that's something to look out for. And also, they got all these people at the stadium. Maybe not so many in the case of Miami. I guess it's a road game today, but they definitely want to put on a show for their fans at home watching the game, and cheering on the young players, I think is a little bit of hope to end a disappointing season. So our first game here, we got Chicago at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh 118 dog to Quintana starting for the Cubs. We got Musgrove starting for the Pirates. Musgrove, over the course of the season, has been one of our favorite value pitchers, but his price is up a little bit today. How are you feeling about this game for the pitching?
So I mentioned in the deep dive article on the site today that it was a scary spot for Musgrove with the caveat that the Cubs could run out an absolutely atrocious lineup, and that's what they did. There is no Kyle Schwarber, no Chris Bryant, no Anthony Rizzo, of course, no Javier Baez, no Wilson Contreras. So any stats that you have, saying that the Cubs are a good offense, you can completely throw those out the window today. Tony Kemp leading off. Ian Happ has some power. So does Garcia and Caratini. Lucroy's a tough strikeout, but it's just a well below average lineup in terms of offensive production. And Musgrove's a pretty middle of the road pitcher. Not a great strikeout pitcher. For the season, he has struck out 21.5% of hitters. But in the context of this slate, you don't really have any great strikeout pitchers. We can talk about Sean Manaea later on, but other than him, you don't really have anyone that strikes out a lot of guys. So that's less of a concern. 4.36 Sierra for Musgrove, really low 5.4% walk percentage. Just a pretty decent pitcher overall. I think that, his price tag has finally come up a bit to where it probably should be. But I just think that it's a pretty favorable matchup for him against the watered-down Cubs lineup. I think that both pitchers in this game actually project pretty similarly. So in tournaments, I could see going to whichever is lower owned. But if I'm just looking at medium projections or looking at who I would like to use as an SP2 in cash, I think Musgrove's that guy for me.
Yeah, I think this is way different than the Cubs lineup that you normally see. I'm seeing the same thing as you. They just don't have a lot of good bats. Their power, instead of being one of the teams that's above average, they're about 15% below average as far as extra base hits. They strike out at above an average rate. Chicago is usually not a great strikeout matchup. So I see some positives from Musgrove, but he is priced up a little bit compared to his usual price. The exception being on Yahoo, where he's 32. We are seeing pretty high ownership numbers for Musgrove across the industry, so something to be mindful of. Of course, maybe this could be a leverage spot where like we're talking about, you got to take some stands against some chalk if you're going to win money on these short slates. So how are you feeling about the Cubs bats, despite the fact that it's kind of a different lineup than usual?
Yeah, I think that 2 through 4 is where I would be most interested in attacking. You also could throw David Bodie in there. He's got some decent power. Since last year, he has 402 plate appearances against right-handed pitching with a 166 ISO, 103 WRC plus. Hap has a 211 ISO over that time, which is good. Robel Garcia, really small sample size, but he has some power. And Caratini is a decent hitter for a catcher. So I think that like 2, 3, 4, and 6 are where I'd be most interested in going to the Cubs. It's not a particularly appealing spot since the lineup as a whole is really bad. But like you said, Musgrove right now on DraftKings projected for 39% ownership, second highest owned pitcher on the slate. And that's another thing that it goes hand in hand with what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. But on those 14 or 15 game slates, there's less merit in stacking a below average offense for leverage reasons because the pitcher you're stacking against just isn't owned enough by the field. Whereas here, if you can knock out 40% of the field by killing one pitcher, that puts you in a really good spot. And with there only being 10 offenses on the slate, 9 offenses in addition to the Cubs, the chances of them being the high scoring team is just higher than it would be if there were 23 other offenses.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The Cubs actually have a pretty reasonable chance of being the top scoring team of the night because there are only 10 offenses. Only 4 are really at average or above average spots. So the Cubs have the 5th highest team total on the slate, which is pretty unusual given the lineup they're rolling out. But I think you can get some leverage here. I will point out that the pricing is way different depending on the site you play on. On DraftKings, the 4 through 6 batters are pretty reasonably priced, but on FanDuel, the first 3 batters are just insane values, with Tony Kemp leading off at 2,100, Happ at 2,600, Robel Garcia at 2,000. These guys are going to be super popular and also give you a good projection, but not necessarily that differentiation you want for the field. Yahoo is even crazier. There's no Cub priced above $10. So, I mean, you could make a cash lineup and just have all 6 of these guys, put them with the expensive pitcher, like Zach Wheeler tonight, Sean Manaea, and that could be a decent cash lineup. How does the pricing on the different sites affect your approach here?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because, obviously if you're going to a team like the Cubs that isn't the most desirable offense in terms of their hitters, you want them at low ownership. We talk about it all the time because a lot of times you'll see ownership go to really poor hitters that are just cheap, and the chances of them actually being a guy you need to win a tournament are so low that goes into play here too. And you can make a really good lineup around the Cubs, but if a large percentage of the field is using those same guys, they're still not very good hitters for the most part, and the chances of you being able to distinguish yourself from the field are pretty low. In addition to that, on FanDuel, they're less appealing because you also just aren't going to get as much ownership on Musgrove since it's a one-pitcher site. The leverage factor goes down a lot compared to DraftKings, and he's not going to be as popular on Yahoo, I wouldn't think either, because their pitcher pricing is a bit softer than DraftKings. So I really think the Cubs are most appealing on DraftKings.
Yeah, I think I like that contrarian factor in DraftKings on Yahoo. They're just looking like everyone's going to have a piece. And Musgrove's not a bad pitcher, 4.3x on the year, probably a pretty average matchup. Quintana, I feel like he has the tougher matchup because Pittsburgh's a little bit harder to strike out, but he's the minus 120 favorite. What do you do? How are you approaching Quintana tonight?
In general, I hate Quintana as a DFS pitcher, but his salary on this slate is lower than we normally get it at. And with the lack of mid-range options, the only guy really priced at the same point as him is Musgrove. 7,400 for Quintana on DraftKings, 7,700 for Musgrove. I prefer Musgrove just because I think there are more strikeouts for him. He's a little bit better strikeout pitcher than Quintana. But right now, like on DraftKings, we have Musgrove at 39% ownership. We have Quintana at 18%. I don't think Musgrove outscores Quintana greater than 2% or greater than twice as often. So you're not making any sort of differences. You're not getting a different roster build. You don't have to sacrifice bats to get Quintana instead of Musgrove. So I think that in tournaments, I wouldn't mind being, if we assume I have, a combined 60% ownership, just like the field between the two, I wouldn't mind being a little bit higher on Quintana, a little bit lower on Musgrove, just because I think that the range of outcomes are close to identical.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Quintana, I have a couple of points projected below Musgrove. Main reason is that the top 7 batters in Pittsburgh's lineup are all below average strikeout guys, whereas the Cubs have a weaker lineup today. But when it comes down to it, one of these guys is going to get the win, most likely, and the other's not. So Quintana is the one that's favored to get the win, although there's not like a huge correlation between the two. I think that the ownership makes the pivot to Quintana pretty interesting as far as a GPP strategy. As far as bats, we got Pittsburgh projected for 4.3 runs. Not as appealing as the Cubs as far as pricing on any site, but are you getting to any Pittsburgh bats today?
I think Kevin Newman stood out a bit because second base and shortstop are both pretty weak positions today. He's affordable leading off for Pittsburgh. He's not great, but he's not bad either. He's young. It certainly has potential down the road. Has a 101 WRC plus against left-handed pitching so far. And Quintana is just a middle of the road pitcher. He's given up a 176 ISO to right-handed hitters this year. So I think Newman stands out because of his position. And then I think that you could take a shot on guys like Jose Osuna, who has some pop hitting cleanup. Pablo Reyes, who's just really cheap batting 5th. Jacob Stallings is cheap at a really, really bad catcher position. So they're not as appealing as the Cubs because I don't think you have like the Ian Happ type guy or the Robel Garcia guy that while they're a flawed hitter, they have massive power. But still, pretty decent pricing, an okay matchup against Quintana. The one thing that makes me like another thing that makes me like the Pirates a bit less than the Cubs, though, is that, just like we were talking about with the ownership between Musgrove and Quintana, if Quintana's coming in at 18% ownership, that's much less appealing to leverage stack against with a low probability team than the 40% owned Musgrove.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if half the people have Quintana or less, depending on the site, you're not taking as many guys out of contention if you guys have a good day. So the Pittsburgh lineup as a whole, I have being even worse than the Cubs. They have basically no power. All 9 positions are lower than average power. So they probably don't have great offensive potential today, but they don't strike out either. So it's kind of a Manny special to some extent, meaning don't take the pitcher or the batters from that side. But maybe a little bit of a contrary play for Pittsburgh, a little chalk for the Cubs could be part of some of my builds. Miami versus Mets. We saw DeGrom go off and go 7 innings. I think he had a bunch of Ks. Pretty nice performance like we expected. Are you expecting the same from Zach Wheeler today?
Not the same, but I think Wheeler's really interesting. He's obviously a really good cash game option. He's got a great matchup against Miami. They have a 3 implied run total. He's a good enough pitcher, 4.27 Sierra for the season, 23.2% strikeout percentage, only 6.3% walk percentage. He's a good pitcher. Good matchup here. He's got 7 righties in the lineup, including the pitcher. Against righties this year, he's held them to a 114 ISO. He's struck out 22.5%. And he's held them to a 276 WOBA. So all the run prevention stuff obviously looks great here. But the reason I think it's interesting from a tournament standpoint is that there's no real denying that he's either the top projected pitcher or the second highest projected pitcher. But he's getting so much ownership because of Miami. He's also priced up on DraftKings and on FanDuel because of Miami. He's still only $42 on Yahoo, but on DraftKings and FanDuel, he's priced up for this matchup. The ownership's up for the matchup. That's a spot that a lot of times I'll find myself coming in underweight in tournaments just because I think that, for lack of a better word, the market is basically correctly or overreacting to the matchup. Like the salary's up and people are still rostering him a ton. You wouldn't roster a 23% strikeout pitcher at over 10K at high ownership very often. And because of the size of this slate and because of the matchup with Miami, I think he's getting driven up a little bit higher than I would like.
Yeah, I've seen some crazy predictions for Wheeler today. I saw a strikeout prop on some sports books of 7. This matchup with Miami really isn't that favorable for strikeouts based on what I can tell. They got The pitcher, Jordan Yamamoto, he's a 29% guy, so that is less than you'd want from the pitcher position. We only got 2 above average strikeout guys. So I think he is overpriced on DraftKings and FanDuel. Of course, being a 250 favorite, Miami having only a 3.5 team total, those are good factors, but he's significantly overpriced. So if there are some expensive bats, I think you can definitely make the jump down from Wheeler to a lesser pitcher, maybe a Musgrove or a Quintana. Is that your approach tonight?
Yeah, or even if I have the salary, I think that pivoting just to Sean Manaea at the same price point, especially on DraftKings where Manaea is $200 more expensive, that should keep him much lower owned. Right now we have 2-1 ownership going to Wheeler, so if I have the salary, even pivoting to Manaea.
Yeah, I think Manaea is going to be the high upside, kind of high risk spot tonight.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not even high risk, but we'll get to that.
I think there's a ton. I think Manaea has not that Wheeler doesn't have a high ceiling just because of the matchup, but I think Manaea's got a lot of question marks about him, and obviously we'll talk about those. But in tournaments, that's not necessarily a bad thing because there's a chance that he's a much, much, much better strikeout pitcher than Wheeler. We don't really have the data necessarily to be super confident in that, but there's at least a chance that that's the case. So it makes it really interesting at lower ownership for me.
I have to agree. I mean, Wheeler, we're pretty confident he's an average strikeout guy. A minus 250 favorite. Manaea is a 240 favorite against Seattle. This is a guy that might be at the 30% or higher level based on his performance this season. It's a little small sample, but we can dig deep into that in a little bit. We got Yamamoto on the other side against Wheeler. This is a guy, he was on the injured list for about a month. He came back and made 1 start since then, I believe, where he went 21 batters over 4 innings, got 3 strikeouts. I mean, not known for really being a ace in fantasy by any means, but 24% K rate. Do you find yourself landing on Yamamoto at all?
Not really. The only thing that I find appealing at all is that we have him projected for less than 10% ownership, and on a slate with questionable mid-range options, that's obviously kind of appealing. But I don't love the matchup against the Mets. It's not the Mets' best lineup. You have Rene Rivera in there instead of Wilson Ramos. Jeff McNeil broke his hand or his wrist last night, so he's not in the lineup. So it's a little bit watered down, but it's still not a bad lineup, especially at the top, from Nimmo down through Cano and Frazier. It's perfectly fine. I haven't been a believer in Yamamoto all season long. It's nice that he finally stopped scoring 25 points every time he took the mound. That was costing me a lot of money, but it's just not a matchup that I really want to get to. I still have respect for the Mets here. They have an implied run total over 5, and Yamamoto isn't really even that fairly priced when you consider that he's more expensive than Musgrove and Quintana.
Yeah, I mean, on DraftKings, that price tag of 8,600 is pretty ridiculous. On Yahoo, he's only 29, so that's more in line with where he should be. But the projection of him, going against the Mets do have strikeouts in their lineup today, but this is a team with a lot of power. Only Luis Guillorme and the pitcher spot don't really have any extra base potential. So I think that it's a tough matchup for him, especially given the alternatives. As far as bats, we got Miami with a 3.6 team total. Is that digging deep, or is that diving off the deep end here?
Going to Miami?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see it. Right now, we have them with a better chance of being the top stack than their ownership, which is nice, I guess. By their standards, their lineup is competent. It's still not a good lineup, but you do have Diaz, Castro, Dean, Ramirez in the middle of that order. I still have a lot of respect for Wheeler. You can certainly make the leverage argument because he's so popular, but God, it doesn't feel good.
I have to admit, man, I don't get the love for Wheeler across the industry. I mean, this is a guy with a 4.1 xFIP, but I mean, Miami is a terrific matchup, so it makes sense that he's kind of the chalk pitcher. Miami, though, I had trouble getting to them in any crunches just because they're projected to do so poorly. And obviously, when you're making a lineup, having an extreme contrarian play like Miami gives you a decent shot to win. but I'm really looking for lineups with a good shot to cash and a great shot to win. So I probably won't land on Miami bats. But the Mets, on the other hand, we're talking about have a lot more firepower. How are you feeling about the Mets stack?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they don't have McNeil or Ramos, but still pretty affordably priced. I think that Brandon Nimmo is a really good value leading off. He's 3,900 on DraftKings. $20 on Yahoo actually is expensive, but still a perfectly fine tournament option there. 2,900 on FanDuel stands out as a great cash game option. He's an above average hitter. 577 plate appearances against right-handed pitching since last year. 137 WRC plus, 213 ISO. I think one of the better hitting options on the slate. Obviously, Pete Alonso has tons of power. Conforto has tons of power. J.D. Davis has made strides this year and since last year has a 112 WRC plus. So, and then you add in, Cano, who's dirt cheap. So even though the bottom of this order is a bit weaker than it normally would be, 1 through 5, maybe 1 through 6 are still good hitters.
Yeah, I mean, this team has a ton of talent. I'm surprised, they're not in the playoff line here.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy considering how good their starting rotation is and how much power they have.
Yeah, I mean, DeGrom, Syndergaard, Mats. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, they got a lot of talent. I think next year, with all these young guys like McNeil, Nimmo, Alonso, even Conforto. I know he's been in the league a few years, but a great talent. So I think they're on the come up. I'm seeing them being pretty popular tonight, so that's going to mitigate my interest to some extent. But a team with a lot of pop, so I think that makes a pretty appealing stack. Next game, we got Cleveland and the White Sox. Indians, as we were talking about, they're still in the playoff hunt. A couple of games, 1.5 games out of the playoffs right now. So they need to really turn on the Jets here. A couple nights ago, we saw they pulled a lot of their starters in the game, and that might have left people with a little bad taste in their mouth for the staff. And I would expect that potentially to happen again if they're up a ton. So you might need a competitive game with the White Sox. Yesterday, we had Shane Bieber going up on the mound, and the White Sox put up some runs on him, so that was a little disappointing. But we got we got Savali today. Actually, pretty expensive. I mean, like 9,600 DraftKings, 8,700 on FanDuel, 38 on Yahoo. What do you feel about Savali today?
I'm not really interested because he is expensive and he is getting ownership. He's 15% owned on DraftKings right now at 9,600. Yes, it's a good strikeout matchup, but he's not a great strikeout pitcher. He's only struck out 19.9% of hitters this year, 4.68 SIERA, 1.82 ERA with a SIERA almost 3 runs higher. That's not something that we expect to continue. He has allowed a 255 BABIP so far. He's run good, it seems like, in several different departments. So while it is a good matchup, I don't think that he really justifies his price tag. And it's not like we're getting a really contrarian play there either. The same really goes on FanDuel where he's 8,700. It's just more than I want to pay for. 38 on Yahoo would be fine, but it's still only $4 less than Wheeler. It's more expensive than Musgrove. It's just still not a super appealing price point. So I don't think I get to much Savali.
I have to agree with you. I think run good is even like an understatement. His ERA on the year is 1.8. Exit is 4.5. My general feeling is that if this game is really important to the Indians, he's going to get the hook if he starts showing any signs of maybe letting the White Sox get in the game. So there are a lot of reasons to avoid him. One potential reason to go to him is the White Sox lineup today. The first 3 batters are all about average strikeouts, but then the next 6 are just like total strikeout machines. So overall, about 20% more than average strikeouts for the team. With Savale, only 20% on the year. So that only takes him up to being like 24%, which is about average. So nothing to pay top dollar for. Cease, on the other hand, my preferred option of the Dylan Cease on Chicago. 25% Ks, but also, pretty expensive DraftKings. FanDuel is mid-range. Yahoo is super cheap. Tough matchup versus the Indians. Do you think he might be worth a look as a contrarian play?
I think of the contrarian options, he's my favorite. that's not to say that I think he has a really high probability of success, because it is a tough matchup against Cleveland. They don't strike out a lot, but I think it's interesting because he has really good raw stuff. He's got a great fastball. He's got good breaking stuff. He can get strikeouts. It really just is an issue of command. And so he gives you that ceiling just based on talent. We have him projected for 4% ownership on DraftKings. And then kind of the flip side too of what we were saying about taking the Cubs against Musgrove. The Indians have the third highest aggregate, or sorry, the highest aggregate stack percentage on DraftKings right now. Looking at some of their hitters individually, you have Lindor, Puig, Reyes all topping 20%. Santana's in there too. So if you were to get a shutdown game there, not only are you getting potentially one of the top scoring pitchers on the slate, but you're shutting down a large percentage of opposing stacks. So it's not someone that I'm building my night around, because I still think it's a low probability spot. It's a really tough strikeout spot. You're not getting any sort of a salary discount. But when you're looking at the contrarian pitching options, like I would rather roster Cease than, a 7% owned Yamamoto, or than paying up for Savali.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, this is a guy with a decent arm. Definitely one of the lowest on pitchers of the night, and a guy who can get Ks. So if you're going to go contrarian at pitcher, this is an option. Not my preferred strategy necessarily. I prefer going contrarian at bats, because there's so much variance in team performance on a given day, whereas pitchers, it's one guy, so the performance is a little bit more constant. Pitchers get so many opportunities to score, facing between 20 and 25 batters on average per game. And when you have that many opportunities, it kind of levels out the outcomes a little bit. We got the White Sox. They might be I would think they would be contrarian, but our ownership projections are showing maybe not so much. But there are a couple of plays that are standing out to me. Are you on the White Sox at all?
So when I wrote the deep dive article today, I had several different White Sox listed as the top values of their positions. So I don't think it's surprising that they're getting a lot of ownership. And if that's going to be the case, then obviously you can shy away from them. But if that ownership does come down, then guys that stand out value-wise: Jose Abreu, 4K at first base; Zach Collins at catcher, a really weak position. He has some power. He's only 3K. And then Daniel Palka, who got a lineup bump from 9th to 7th, still the absolute minimum on DraftKings and FanDuel and Yahoo. So, absolute minimum across the board. That opens some stuff up for you. And one thing that is favorable for the White Sox, they do have power in guys like Anderson, Abreu, Moncada, Collins, even Daniel Palka. And they have big time strikeout guys. But when you get hitters like that against a pitcher like Savali that doesn't give up a lot of power, I think it kind of swings it makes me like them more, because these guys with tons of power are more likely to put the ball in play, more likely to get a favorable outcome. So I'm paying close attention to ownership there, but I do think that some of those guys will be popular just because they are the best values at their positions.
Yeah, there's some crazy prices. Palka, as you mentioned, 2K and DraftKings, they almost never put anyone that low, or at least anyone that makes the lineup. In fact, like scrolling through their player list on a daily basis, I'm intrigued, because it's like they have guys that haven't played like a single game in the MLB this season that are like 3 or 4K, whereas you got guys like Palka. I mean, he's played 20 games, it looks like, so not that many, but it's still the bare minimum.
Yeah. And with Palka too, like he's been, in his 20 games this year, he's been awful. But this guy put up a 245 ISO in the major leagues last year and a 263 ISO at AAA this year. He's been awful in his short time in the majors this year, but it's not like this guy doesn't have power.
That's what I like to hear, man. When I'm thinking about a cheap player, maybe they get a home run or something at 2K, and that'd be terrific. All right, so Adam, we got some time for more general strategy discussion today. 5-game slate requires a lot of different strategy than a 15-game slate, as we were discussing earlier. One of the pivotal decisions they have to make before you even decide who you're going to pick is what kind of stack you're going to build. Each site has a little bit different features. So DraftKings, you can pick 5 guys from the same team. FanDuel 4 and Yahoo 6. How does the slate size affect how much stacking you want to employ in your lineups?
So it's a little bit site specific in how I approach it. On DraftKings, I talked about it before. Like I create more lineups in Fantasy Cruncher than I need, and then I pare them down. On the bigger slates, I just create a higher percentage of like 5-3 and 5-2 stacks than I do 4-3 or 4-4, just because on the bigger slates there's a higher probability of an outlier outcome for a team where they just go absolutely nuts and you want all 5 guys. So on the smaller slates, instead of maybe making 3 times as many 5-mans as 4-mans, I'll make it a little bit more even just to give me more combinations. Get some more 4-4s, 4-3s in there. On FanDuel, I don't really do anything all that different because of their scoring, the correlation's even more important there. Home runs are weighted a little bit less, RBIs and runs scored are weighted a little bit higher. So I definitely just still want as many full stacks there as I can get. And then on Yahoo Fantasy Draft, basically or similar to how I treat DraftKings, just still looking to get full stacks, but running a little bit more of the the smaller variations.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach. I totally agree with FanDuel. Like they weight the RBIs and runs heavily. They're worth as much as a hit. DraftKings, Yahoo, Fantasy Draft, it's all hits are more valuable than runs, RBIs. That makes a difference. You really need the team that gets the most runs on FanDuel, where DraftKings, Yahoo, and Fantasy Draft, you need a little bit more base hits, more bases. So I think that makes a difference. One thing I think we can all agree on is you need to hit the stack that scores the most fantasy points on a given night if you want to have any shot at taking down a tournament, because the correlation is so high in baseball. And that's why I developed the Top Stacks tool. What that does, it tells you if you're not a member, it's free on Fridays. What it does, it tells you the ownership of each stack, the chance that each stack will be the highest scoring of the night. And what you can do is you can see what stacks are more likely to be the highest scoring than their ownership, or vice versa. And that will help you identify stacks that will be more likely to win you a tournament. Well, what I'm seeing with this game is Cleveland, although they have one of the highest chances of being the top stack, I have them as about a 16 to 17% probability, depending on the site. But they're also one of the highest owned teams of the night. 18% on DraftKings and FanDuel and 17% on Yahoo. And the conclusion that you can draw from that is that this is a good stack to have, but it's not necessarily one where you can gain a large edge over the field as far as ownership or projection. And that's the kind of tools you'll have access to when you sign up for Osmo. We have a deal for guys who are members. You can use the code Deeper Dive for half off your first week or month. So I hope to see you guys in our Slack chat. And if you guys have any big wins tonight using our show information and using the information on site, hit us up with some screenshots. We love to hear that everyone's being successful out there. So one of the guys listening to the show this morning tweeted at you that he won $50K based on your pick, man. How do you feel?
Yeah, jealous. But yeah, no, pretty cool. It's always nice when you wake up and there are tweets about people winning a lot of money and not tweets of people bitching at you about things.
Yeah. I mean, it's always great. And I think when you join the site, we're all working as a team to come up with the best strategies. And I think yesterday he said you put him on some Atlanta Braves that really had a good day, right?
Yeah, I think it was Donaldson and Swanson. They almost got me there in a fantasy draft tournament too. So yeah, they came through. They had the Braves had a big like top of the ninth, which was really, really nice for I'm guessing him and for me.
You gotta love that, man, because it's like you're sweating. Like usually nothing happens at the end of the game, but
Right.
like occasionally you get that one taste where it's like I have a chance to win something, and this guy actually did. So
yeah, it was 2 outs. It was 2 outs, nobody on too, so it looked like it was going to just die out, and then they just went nuts.
That is amazing sweat. Hopefully he had the game on while that was happening and didn't close his laptop. So congrats to our viewer there. Next game we got Houston versus the Angels. This is going to be one of the most popular games of the night as far as Houston bats, and the pitcher, I think, maybe a contrarian play, Miley. They're a 200 money line favorite. 6.4 team total for Houston, 4.2 for the Angels. How are you approaching this game?
Really surprised by how low we have Miley's ownership projected right now. I mean, I understand that it's Wade Miley. He doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, and he's been pitching absolutely awful lately, going negative in 3 of his last 4 starts. But the salaries come down, and it is a watered-down Angels lineup. The top of the order is brutal for strikeouts with Fletcher, Simmons, and Pujols. Kevin Smith's not an easy strikeout either. But then it does open up a bit from there on. So it's not that I like Miley. I just kind of thought that he would because his median projection is decent, because he is a massive favorite at the Angels. I thought he'd be getting a little bit more ownership than he is on DraftKings specifically. So with him, only at 15 or 13% ownership right now, mild interest. He's not a high upside play where you think there's a really good chance of him like scoring 25 points and winning you the slate. He's just the kind of guy where it's not there's a pretty good chance that guys like Quintana and Musgrove and Savali all just give you mediocre outings, and Miley's the cheapest of the group and could certainly just edge them out by a couple of points.
Yeah, I think that he's going to be a little bit sneaky today, and I like it. Let me read off some game logs for you here. His last start, he went 1 inning, 4 earned runs. He only faced 9 batters, so I assume he was quite in the negative there. The second to last, he went 6 innings, 4 Ks, 2 runs. So pretty standard quality outing. Then before that, he went 0.1 innings, 7 earned runs. And you think that's bad, but the game before that, he went 6 batters, 0 outs, and 5 earned runs, 0 strikeouts, and 3 out of 4 of these starts. So, I mean, this is a real situation where this is going to test your values as a DFS player. Do you buy into this recent terrible performance, or is that just baseball?
I think that, and it's really funny with Miley because for so much of this season, it's been like, what's going on with Wade Miley? Why is he doing so well? And then suddenly it's just like, okay, what happened to Wade Miley? He can't get an out. As usual, I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, and it's about where we've been projecting him to be where we thought he should be all year long. He has a 19.7% strikeout percentage. He has a 4.79 Sierra. His ERA is 3.91. So even with getting blown up in 3 of his last 4 starts, his ERA is still nowhere near his predictors. So it all makes sense. It just kind of all evens out. I think that you shouldn't put any stock into those games specifically. I think you should just look at it as Wade Miley's a below average strikeout pitcher that is average to slightly below average as far as run prevention. He's facing a team with a 3.8 implied run total, limited strikeout upside, but also limited production for that team. Not much opportunity cost on the slate and relatively low ownership. So it's not like I am happy to be getting to have Wade Miley. It's not like I'm super confident that this is where he has a good game, but just like I don't think earlier in the season you'd want to be looking at a 28-point Wade Miley start and being like, oh man, he's some new pitcher. You also shouldn't be looking at bad starts recently and saying that he's terrible or anything like that.
I have to agree with you, and I mean, I'm not a game log watcher. And when I see this kind of thing, I actually get more interested because, people, they want to feel confident in their picks. And there's virtually no way you can feel confident in Wade Miley right now. But I'll throw out one metric here that I think is valuable is a lot of sports books offer a 5-inning line. 5 innings is about the length of time a normal pitcher goes in MLB. And in this 5-inning line, it's 5.5 over under. Houston's favored by 200. And that equals to the Angels scoring on average 2.6 runs in the first 5 innings. So if the Angels end up going out and scoring under 2.6 runs, then I think Miley might be in for a pretty good start. And they got a watered down lineup, like Trout. There's some strikeouts at the bottom of the order. So if this guy was popular, I'd be like, I can skip it, but he's not. He's one of the lowest owned players in the slate. He's a 200 favorite. I mean, I got all of this.
Yeah, love wasn't the word that I was going to use, but I agree with you. I assumed coming into today that he was going to be someone where I was looking to fade because of his medium projection being good for his salary and it being a low strikeout spot. But it doesn't really look like the field's getting there. And if that's the case, then give me Miley.
Yeah, I like it. Angels bats, one of the lower team totals of the day, 4.2. Obviously, we're not getting leverage. This Miley isn't that popular. Any interest there?
I think Simmons is interesting. Shortstop's a pretty weak position today. He's cheap. He's batting second, which is a nice lineup bump for him. 112 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. He doesn't have a ton of power, but the position's not great. Like if you can't find the money for Lindor, who is really cheap by his standards, but if you can't find the money, I think Simmons is an okay value option.
Yeah, I like it. Especially on Yahoo, he's $8. I mean, that is a dirt cheap price for someone batting second. And while I'm touting Miley over here, I don't think he's the greatest pitcher in the world. So I think that's a pretty nice value play. On the other side, we got Jaime Barea. He hasn't been going very deep in games, so I'm projected to go between 4 and 5 innings. With that taken into account, he's only really playable on DraftKings at 4,600. But is that someone you're considering just for the price savings?
No, just because I don't think you'll really need it. There's enough value on the slate from the hitters that I think you can make good enough lineups with pitchers that are better than Barea. It's obviously a brutal matchup against Houston, low strikeouts, tons of power, and to add on top of that, going back to last year, Barea's actually done a much better job against left-handed hitters than right-handed hitters, due in part to his changeup that is much better against lefties. Higher strikeout percentage against lefties, less power allowed, and we don't have a Houston lineup yet, but I assume there's going to be a lot of right-handed power in it.
Hopefully we get one tonight.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you guys were in the same boat as me. Like right after lock, they released their lineup yesterday, so no Correa, no Bregman, I think, and no Brantley. So a lot of us were at our computers yesterday doing some edits. But I mean, they're the most popular stack of the day on certain sites. Well priced on DraftKings and FanDuel, so definitely the chalk play. And I think you can get a big edge over the field if you're willing to devote the time to correcting your lineups if this lineup is released after lock. So how did you handle that yesterday?
I was playing on Fantasydraft, so I just lit my money on fire.
Man, that must have been tilting because obviously no late swap. If you don't have the lineup, you're kind of toast. But yeah, so I think if you roster Houston today, make sure you have time to budget towards potential changes later in the evening. But great play. Oakland, we got Sean Manaea on the mound versus Felix Hernandez. I just saw Felix set a bunch of Mariners records in his last start, or I'm not sure if it was that or if they're just reiterating how he's the top Seattle Mariners pitcher of all time or something. But he's only 5,400 on DraftKings, 5,900 Yahoo, 25 on, or 5,900 FanDuel, 25 on Yahoo. You go to any King Felix?
I just don't see it. The A's don't strike out a lot. They have tons of power. Hernandez, obviously, at this point in his career, is washed. Doesn't strike guys out. 14 starts this year for Seattle. He has an 18.1% strikeout percentage, 5.95 FIP. Like he's done. And it's not the team that you really want to take him against. He's allowed a 264 ISO to lefties since last year. This year in particular, he's allowed a 275 ISO to lefties, 267 to righties. We don't have an Oakland lineup yet. Chris Davis is questionable. Mark Canha left yesterday's game early, so it could be a little bit watered down, but you're still going to have guys like Semi and Laureano, Chapman, Olsen, possibly Davis that have plenty of power in this lineup. So I don't really see getting to Hernandez, especially with Miley not getting a lot of ownership. Like it would be one thing if Miley was at 35, 40% and you were getting a huge discount in ownership going to Hernandez, but I would rather just take my chances on Miley than Hernandez in that price range.
Yeah, I think Miley is probably my preferred option as well. 5,400 does have me a little bit of interest in Felix. Not a great strikeout pitcher, not a great matchup, but Just having some flexibility to get some expensive bats. Of course, if you're getting to Felix, you're not going to have the Oakland bats available to you, so you're going to pick Houston, probably, or Cleveland. So limits your options a little bit. There really aren't that many great spend up options on the slate, so he's in the mix for me. Just got the Seattle lineup, so I'll give you a second to process that, and we will go to the Oakland bats. Oakland 5.8 team total. Expected to be pretty popular today. How's your approach for this?
Yeah, I think that hopefully their lineup, waits a little bit to come out and it lowers their ownership a little bit, because I do think it's a good spot against Hernandez. Like I said, giving up tons of power to everyone. The only real negative I see, aside from potentially high ownership, is that it's only like 58, 59 degrees in Seattle. But that being said, Vegas understands that, and you still have an implied run total approaching 6 for Oakland. So all things considered, I think that they're very. You have some really good values with Olsen, Chapman, potentially Davis, and then also lots of power in this lineup too. So I do like Oakland. Like you said, they're getting a lot of ownership, but they're still getting, right now we have them projected for less ownership than Houston and Cleveland, which is nice.
I like to hear that. Pretty good values for me on DraftKings for Oakland. FanDuel, like more fairly priced, but we got Ramon Laureano standing out if he's in the lineup. 3,100. That's a pretty good price for him. Just still line up with a ton of power, and that's what you're looking for. Seattle, I believe they have the open air with a roof, so the temperature does become a factor. So a little bit worse for bats. I bumped the pitchers, and one guy who I think might get that bump, especially with this Seattle lineup they just released, is Jaime Barea. You mentioned you're pretty interested in Barea. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's really interesting. Like it's rare this time of year to get a pitcher that you really can dig into and try and figure out exactly what's going on with them, because for most guys, they've made 25, 30 starts and they are what they are. Barea has always had really good strikeout numbers in the minor leagues, a former top pitching prospect, but it's never translated to strikeouts in the major leagues. In 2016, he had a 20.9% strikeout percentage, 20.2% in 2017, 16.5% in 2018 across 27 starts. He's always been a guy that I thought should be better than he is, but it hadn't really been the case. Missed most of this year with an injury, but in 5 starts at AAA, he struck out 41% of hitters. In 4 starts so far with the A's, he struck out 28.1%. So on one hand, that's really good to see, because he's finally striking guys out like you would expect him to, based on the numbers he put up in the minor leagues when he was coming up. And he's got a good strikeout matchup against Seattle here. So there's certainly the potential for him to – it's really an unknown, but there's certainly the potential for him to just be a markedly better strikeout pitcher than Zach Wheeler is. And you're getting him at lower ownership at a similar price point. The counter argument to that, and the other side of the range of outcomes, is that normally when you see a pitcher like this, if they have a sustainable increase in their strikeout percentage from where they've been before, normally you can kind of point to what they're doing differently. And if you dig into Barea, he's throwing his slider more this year than he has in the past, but his swinging strike percentage is in line with his career norms. His O swing percentage, which is an indicator of something that can be a reason that hitters are striking out more, that's in his career norms. He's getting less rise on his fastball. His velocity is down from previous seasons, less depth on his slider. His release point's a little bit different, but that's normally not enough to account for this type of change. So I think that it wouldn't be surprising at all if his strikeouts just kind of plummet. In the context of this slate, though, I think that the reward is really high, because there's some chance that he is a very good strikeout pitcher now, and that he's just miles ahead of Zach Wheeler in that regard. The downside isn't really that low, because Zach Wheeler is not a great strikeout pitcher. It's not like if you're wrong and Sean Barea's true strikeout percentage is actually 22%, that he's really worse than Wheeler. It's still like the same guy at lower ownership, so you'd still be happy with it. So I think the question marks around him actually make him a really, really appealing tournament option as a pivot to Wheeler.
Yeah, I think I'm a little concerned by these advanced metrics you're referencing, because I'm buying in. I think that strikeout percentage is something that normalizes a lot faster, because there's so many opportunities. he hasn't gone a full season, but his numbers have been incredible. And they've been a little bit lower than I would expect from his AAA performance at 28%. We have seen a couple of guys really make a leap this year. The guy coming back from injury isn't necessarily the guy you'd expect, but wanted to take a chance here, and it looks like Vegas is really buying in, giving him minus 240 versus Felix. Seattle only has a 3.6 team total. The weather's favorable. And the Mariners lineup, it has more Ks than normal. I have them about 10% better than your average team as far as strikeouts for the pitcher. Seattle, I think, is going to be one of the most contrarian stacks of the day. 3.6 team total, actually quite expensive. Kyle Lewis is even $27 on Yahoo. Are you ending up on any Mariners bets?
I don't think so, unless Manaya's ownership were to get a lot higher. It's just not a high probability spot, I don't think. You don't even have Tommy Murphy in the lineup, who I would have really liked as a catcher one-off for whatever reason. Seattle has Narvaez in there in the lefty-lefty matchup. They're not super cheap. Even if you look at like J.P. Crawford, who's a value shortstop that I've used a bit recently, I still think Simmons is the better value option at shortstop among guys that are not great hitters. So not much interest in Seattle here, who has the second lowest total on the slate other than Miami.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, they are the lowest owned team of the night, but it's for very good reason. Probably one of the worst spots I've seen in the past few weeks as far as value, overall team projection. So I'm off them. So we've covered kind of the strategy for tonight. We got 10 teams, so picking the right stack is going to be crucial. Who are your top options here?
I like Oakland. I like Houston, depending on their lineup. Like, there's some chance we just get a trash lineup, though, so that's kind of scary. But assuming we get something decent from Houston, I really like them.
Awesome, man. I have to agree with you on Houston. I think there's an additional edge you can gain on Draftkings Fanduel Yahoo with Houston, which is that if you're willing to edit your lineup after a lock, maybe they'll roll out a lineup at 7:30, and it won't have some of the guys we expected, and manually tinkering with your lineups will be a big way to gain an edge. So if I was a single entry player, that would be my approach for tonight, is to lock in a Houston stack. Retain some flexibility with the roster so that you can change it to update if they do release a lineup, which they're known for when they play these West Coast games. So I think that's a good strategy. So after this, we got Jake and Josh, a little all-star duo here, doing live before lock. And then following that, we got myself, Nolan, and Ben Raza. We're going to be breaking down the Packers versus Eagles game tonight, doing a little live before lock at 7:30 Eastern. Adam, any final words for our audience here?
Just, keep in mind on these 5-game slates that you're going to feel less comfortable than usual with your lineups if you're making quality tournament lineups. It doesn't mean you have to make a really low projected lineup or something that's unlikely to cash, like you mentioned earlier. But don't be afraid to take chances on guys that make you feel uncomfortable.
I like it. Yeah. If you're feeling too comfortable for your lineup, there's probably 1,000 people out there with the same lineup that all feel the same way. So take some shots. And hopefully we're going to win some money. Send us some screenshots saying how you did. We'll be back tomorrow. Me, you, and we got Spags joining the crew, filling in for Laffy. Until then, I'll see you guys later.
Bam! Live before lock, Thursday, September 26th. Myself, Jake Hari, running it back. 5-game slate. Honestly, Alex and Adam just killed that deeper dive, which makes me feel bad. Makes me want to do a better job here. So let's give the best live before lock we can do for the second to last time this regular season.
Yeah, they did. I think that was, that's a pretty good duo. You might need to look into that for next season. Obviously, nice to have Spags and Laffy in there too, but those guys broke down a 5-game slate as in-depth as you're going to find for free. So, if you missed out on that show and you're watching this one, that's too bad. But I think we got a good show as well. We'll be doing a little bit of different things and talking, I'm sure, a variety of different topics tonight.
Absolutely. I think all of these shows work really well as a 2-person group instead of 3. It allows everybody to have a natural conversation. Where I feel like Laffy's just driving the train. Not that he's not participating or anything, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's easier to get everyone involved when it's just 2 people. When it's 3 and you're crunched for time, Laffy gets squeezed out a little bit. So understandable, but
a heck of a show. A lot of really good information in that last one.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I talked about this slate a bit earlier, so we'll get into it in a second. But let's just do the plugs. Live before lock is the promo code. 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus. If you want to check out everything we have to offer, get yourself ready for tonight's MLB slate or week 4 in the NFL or soccer or MMA for this weekend. All sorts of stuff. Use the promo code live before lock, one big word. You can get 50% off that first month with us. Also, shout out to Fantasydraft for being the presenting sponsor of this show. Fantasydraft, only place you're going to be able to play rake-free DFS. They're running the 700K Hooters main event this Sunday for week 4 in the NFL. 100K to first, $28 entry fee. And every dollar they take in entry fees goes right back out into the prize pool. If you want to check them out, go to fantasydraft.com, use the promo code AWESEMO when signing up, and get a 7-day trial of up to $1,000 in rake-free entries. It won't cost you a cent. You can't beat it. You won't find a better deal anywhere else out there. So please go check it out. And come play me on Fantasy Draft for Sunday.
Wait, come play you?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I'll be in the tournament.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm definitely going to. Wait, you're getting in the Hooters main event?
Of course.
Okay. I think I'm going to get some in there. Not going to max it. I'm not a baller in NFL or really in any sport. I mean, the jury's still out. So I'm going to get in the lower stake stuff for sure on Fantasy Draft. I think it'd be dumb not to if you're playing over a couple $100 on this NFL Sunday. So would suggest you guys do that as well. My savings just keep going up and up, and it makes me feel good every day playing on Fantasy Draft. So I'm going to continue to do that.
There we go. Lots to talk about here, right?
Well, I mean, if they didn't break it down so well before this, we might have more to talk about. But as we mentioned, those guys crushed it. So
they really did.
We'll see.
Let's see. Last ownership I have in right now. So let's take a look at pitching. I'm going to be playing on FanDuel today. Where are you at tonight?
Fantasy Draft. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm getting in on DraftKings, but I got my 15 on Fantasy Draft. I completely blanked yesterday, by the way, that there wasn't late swap on Fantasy Draft. So I'm playing my Astros, and I'm looking, and I'm trying to edit my Astros lineup. So I'm like, whatever. I got to refresh the page. Something's not working. Yeah, no late swap on Fantasy Draft. So just be aware of that.
Really?
If you are playing there. Yeah. If you are playing there, we didn't get the Houston lineup. I've never had an issue because when I've played there, I've never had an issue getting the lineup in on time. But yeah, I was stuck with well, the Astros were I think I had 4 stacks out of 30. And yeah, so all those stacks were dead with either a Brantley or someone that wasn't in the lineup.
I did not know that they didn't have late swap. That's weird. Baseball should just have it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever. I should have known that. So my fault. Not Fantasydraft's fault. I'm sure that's in their rules somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100% on you.
Yeah, I mean, can't blame anyone but myself, but I was just kicking myself a little bit because that's a dumb mistake that I don't need to make.
By the way, I completely agree with T McB, YouTube chat. Everybody should hit that like button. The way to do it. Helps us out tremendously. And subscribe, hit the notification bell, and subscribe to our podcast feed, iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. 60% owned Zach Wheeler on DK right now, 42% owned on FanDuel. I have a sneaky suspicion that I'm going to end up with like 80 to 90% Wheeler on FanDuel, but let's talk about it. How are you feeling about this Wheeler ownership? And I guess put it in relationship to Manaea or Savali?
I mean, I like Wheeler, of course. Not as high on him as I was this morning, though. And I guess I thought Wheeler was a better strikeout pitcher. You know, I don't always check the strikeout numbers for everyone. I just kind of have it in my head where I know everyone is at, and it comes out in projection. So we didn't have Alex's projections out, but now that we do, him and Manaea are very, very close together. And I thought there would be a wider gap, and it would just be an ownership thing that I might get to some Manaea. But right now, I think – let's see where he's at on the latest rankings projections update. I think he's got Manaea a touch ahead of him in raw points.
Ooh,
so that was a little bit surprising to see. And it actually, the gap has gotten wider between them in raw points. So pretty convincingly, Manaea is winning out. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I'm surprised that it's getting bigger.
I am as well.
It makes me feel dumb.
It makes our conversation definitely, like, it makes me not feel good about that. Like, are we overlooking something with Manaea? I mean, obviously Alex and Adam just broke it down. Because I guess we don't really know what the deal is with Manaea as far as what kind of pitcher he's going to be going forward.
You know what? We can do something right now and take a look at it and see what the real impact is. So I think that we can speak to it and give an example, and I think it'll be perfect for us in this opportunity. So I have Sean Manaea's K rate right now at, let me find him here. All right, got it. 17.9%, which is probably low. He's been striking people out this season at what, like 27, something in that neighborhood?
Yeah, I think we said like 26, 27, somewhere in there.
So let's do this. I'm going to find out what his K rate is right now. And I'm going to change the backdrop, or I'm going to change my underlying rate and see how much it boosts his projection. So far this season, he has struck out 28% of batters. So let's do this. I need, what is 28% of 857? 240. So let's change this to 240. All right, so that bumps him up to a 28% strikeout guy. Walk rate stays the same. So I had him previously at a staggering 30.7 FanDuel points. By making that change, he jumps to 38.5.
Yeah. So what is that? That's a over 25% boost, right there.
38.5 and 30.7.
Yeah, 30.7. So over 8 points in boost, in a bump up. I mean, that's obviously incredibly substantial when you're trying to project players. So even if it's somewhere in the middle there, though. Like,
right. So like I wouldn't want to go to that number. I think if I went to like 24%, we would be looking at a more realistic outcome.
Yeah. So even if you give him a 10% boost, you put him at like 34, 35 FanDuel points, somewhere in there.
Yes.
Where's Wheeler at for you?
So higher than that by quite a bit. But let's do the same thing for Wheeler. Let's make sure that we have the right rates for Wheeler, and then I think that we can compare them pretty well. So Wheeler this season, 23%, pretty standard across the board there. I have him slightly higher than that, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and discount Wheeler a little bit. Let's bring him down to 23.5.
I'm too broke to multi-enter. But while you're doing this, quick, someone says in the YouTube chat, well, there's a 5-cent entry on FanDuel, right? There's a 5-cent.
Yes, I'm in it actually tonight.
Yeah, there's also let's see, if you're looking to multi-enter NFL and just dip your toe in the water. Let me see if they're offering it this week. I believe they are.
By the way, Manaya's strikeout prop tonight is 5.5, minus 140 on the under. I have him right now at 6, which makes me want to discount him a little bit more.
Yeah, that's lower than I would have imagined, but you know, you can't just take strikeout props to the bank because they're low limit. They're not going to be efficient. So maybe
absolutely,
people are just looking at his K rate for his career and are like, oh yeah, definitely going under.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how people are betting it.
Wheeler's is 6.5, by the way.
6.5?
Yeah.
Man, that's a full K higher still. That does worry me, but I still think they are pretty close. They're definitely closer than what we thought this morning, I think.
That I agree with, for sure.
Also, back to the YouTube chat. If you want to get, dip your toe into multi-entering, for $12.50, you can max out the 25-cent on Fantasydraft. $200 to first, $150 to second, 50 max entry, $12.50. Pretty good investment, even if you don't have a ton of cash.
The way to do it. Got to start somewhere. Yeah, that dramatically narrows the field between the two of them, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but still, I can't Alex has more than 2 points separated Manaya ahead, and considering Manaya is getting less than half of the ownership of Wheeler on FanDuel, that is a very, very, very interesting piece of information.
Yeah, so for me, it's okay, well, if you're playing on Fantasydraft, you can still make good lineups with both of them. So I think those are still going to be my two highest owned guys. But when I'm deleting some lineups on Fantasy Cruncher that are too highly owned, possibly, I think Wheeler's going to get filtered out just a little bit more. And you might even just straight up get more Manaya if you're just crunching on fantasy points, if you're using Alex's projections. So just be aware of that. You can, of course, bump them up or down, but I would be careful doing that if you've been using them, because his projection, he's the number one player in DFS. I don't think you need to do much in terms of manual intervention with his projections.
No, not at all.
Be careful bumping those up or down, giving the thumbs up. But yeah.
I am confident in saying that his projections are better than 99.999% of the people that are ever going to grab them.
Yeah, I just wanted to be nice. His projections are better than yours. I mean,
they are. They just absolutely are.
And his projections are better than mine.
Yep, they're better than mine. That's for sure.
I don't even have MLB projections, but yeah.
I mean, I know for a fact that they're better than mine. I've checked. That's why they're a piece of it now.
Exactly. Aggregate.
Gotta. So yeah, Wheeler at 60, Manaya at 30 on DraftKings, Wheeler at 42 on FanDuel, Manaya at 17. You are to believe any information at awesomeo.com. That information is in the wrong direction.
What do you mean?
The ownership should be flipped.
The ownership between Wheeler and Manaya. Yeah, I suppose. Man, Wheeler just must project way better at other places. However, we do our ownership projections, because it should at least be close.
Oh, it's got to be clear across the board.
Yeah. So Alex must be his projection system must be like one of the only ones that has Manaea even close to Wheeler.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it does give us a little mild look behind the curtain. We know without question that he has to be highly weighting 2019 data.
Yep, probably.
Which you mentioned it on the show. Strikeout percentage normalizes faster than most other stats in baseball because of how frequently the opportunities exist. You can be a little bit more confident in locking that sort of percentage in.
Exactly.
It's good to know.
And yeah, and Manaea's getting swings and misses and chases too. Like his swinging strike rate. I mean, some people don't like using that. K rate is better, but swinging strike rate does stabilize as well, because it's pitch by pitch basis compared to batter by batter. He's got a 12% swinging strike rate. So, I mean, everything's up for Manaea so far in his first few starts. And if you believe he's improved or was hurt or was playing hurt for last season, then you got to be careful using that 2018 and 2017 data with him.
I'm running a dummy crunch right now for FanDuel, just see sort of where I come out. Are any of these other K props interesting? East 5.5.
What's Yamamoto's at?
What's your guess?
4.5.
4.5 minus 140 on the over.
On the over?
Yeah.
Man, I didn't get to any of him so far on my fantasy crunch, on my fantasy draft crunches, I should say. We will see once we get Oakland if we get Oakland and Houston, if I have to re-crunch here. He was a guy that I was at least considering. Maybe you don't need to go there now that Musgrove's facing this atrocity of a Cubs lineup. Maybe you just play Musgrove and take the smarter play. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about Musgrove here? I mean, completely different team than we were talking about this morning that he's facing.
It's so different. For reference, Musgrove's strikeout prop 5.5 minus 140 on the under. I mean, I understand why he's getting the ownership. I'm not so sure that I think he should be double Quintana or more than double Miley. I think it's getting a little out of hand, but at the same time, I understand it. I mean, the Cubs are basically playing the B squad today.
Yeah, for sure. They are playing the B squad, but are the Pirates, like, what are they playing? The B plus squad, maybe? Maybe. They just lost Marte and Bell. Like, their lineup stinks too. And
yeah, I mean, I prefer Quintana.
Yeah. So I was agreeing with you. Like, the ownership, yeah, definitely a favorable spot for Musgrove. Way more favorable than what we thought a few hours ago. But like 38% ownership, I'm not really with that. Quintana looks like the clear option for me if you're playing like a single entry or something like that. Maybe just a massive overreaction to Musgrove's new matchup, I guess.
So I crunched out like 600 plus lineups and just loaded them in right now for FanDuel. Top 3 stacks: Astros, Indians, and A's making up 80% of my ownership out of the entire 100. I haven't clicked refresh on pitching yet, but I'm pretty sure that Zach Wheeler is going to be in like 90 plus.
Oh God! Did you say on FanDuel?
Yeah. Oh no, not even close.
10-5.
Not even close. Okay.
I need to be?
That feels smarter. When I first ran it earlier, it was like straight down the column 1, Zach Wheeler. I got the 44%, same as the field.
Nice. I got to 50 on 30 lineups on Fantasy Draft. I was just thinking, should I be playing on DraftKings tonight? Is this Minimax going to overlay?
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Is it? Or no?
I haven't looked.
I thought maybe I was just looking at the wrong thing, but let me see. It was like half full. Oh, no, it's not. It was like half full, maybe.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's not going to overlay. I was going to say, if it's going to overlay, shit, I'm going to play in it today.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. It was at like 12K out of 24. So, no, I'm good there. I'd rather not waste my rake over there.
Yeah, I tapped out. Tapped out. Let's see. Who else can we touch on right now? Thoughts on Musgrove being the second most owned pitcher on FanDuel?
He's still, you're not getting a massive discount on him over there. He's still a dog. I'd rather go with Savali or maybe even Wade Miley if I'm going to Musgrove in that range. It's kind of the same thing on DraftKings. I just don't understand the incredible amounts of love he's getting when he wasn't getting any love at all this morning. It's not like he went from a good spot to a great spot. He went from a below average spot to like a decent, like it's a good spot. It's the strikeout prop says it all. What did you say he was at? 5.5?
5.5 minus 140 on the under.
So he's around projected for like 5 strikeouts. That's fine, but yeah.
I've got Wheeler spot on there. Aaron Savali at 4.5 minus 140 on the over. Probably need to discount that a little bit, but we'll call it there.
What's Wade Miley's prop?
Doesn't have one.
Why? Is he not expected to go deep enough, or why wouldn't he have one?
Honestly, I have no idea. Doesn't have one at the site I'm looking at. I mean, it might exist somewhere. I didn't do too much digging.
Who's fighting for a playoff spot? We could talk about some standings if we want to.
Indians, right?
Indians and the A's. So the A's lineup, I'm pretty confident should be good to go. Chris Davis is the question mark. Good to go in that you should see a lot of normal, good players in their lineup.
Yeah.
Because they're not locked in yet. Houston, we could see what we saw yesterday with Toro and Mayfield and Maldonado and Straw. Or a bunch of their guys rested yesterday. Maybe they rest Bregman and Brantley, or Brantley rested yesterday, Alvarez or someone like that. You just don't really know with Houston. So if you play on fantasy draft right now, I would just X them out. Yeah, I would just X out Houston. If they're not, like if we're cutting it close by lock and we don't have a lineup, because I got burned by that yesterday. But I think Oakland, you're pretty much set to play their normal guys.
Yeah, man, that's really tricky. And like, you have to have late swap in baseball because anybody can play. I can understand I don't mind not having it in basketball because barring like one guy specifically being questionable, everybody plays. You know what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can sit in a baseball game.
They very well could.
Especially now.
Yeah, it would be nice to have late swap, but it also, I mean, if you're a donkey like me and you just ran it thinking you could swap, it creates an edge for people that X'd out Houston yesterday and didn't get burned by that. So there's two sides to it.
We're slowly getting into dong picks here. I assume that Chris is the only person that got one?
I think so.
No George Springer, no Yordan Alvarez, no Vlad Guerrero?
No, for the first two for sure. I checked Houston today. I don't know about Vlad.
Emac passed me in percentage of dongs.
Yeah, that's brutal.
And Randone is tied with me now. I still have the pick rate by a hair, but Emac going back to back with Choi and Goldschmidt.
We had 3 out of 4. Nice little end of the season stretch for the Mac.
Yeah. I mean, he's got this, unless you double dong tonight.
Wait, he's 2 up on me? Is that right?
And 3 correct picks.
All right, well, I'm going for the total dong crown, so we'll see.
Look, all that matters is not Spags.
You confident in that?
I mean, he's not beating Emac that much. I'm confident in.
Yeah.
If he wants to he gets 9 over the next 2 days, kudos.
Nothing like a quadruple dong.
Yeah,
tonight
deserves it. Let's just get into dong picks now while we're here. Here are the current standings. Today and tomorrow are the last 2 days. Emac 34, Jake 32. I've got 29. Spags 25, Randone 12. Percentages are all over the place, so we'll sum those up tomorrow. I do think it's incredibly interesting how tightly packed it is. Average rate, we're basically making the correct pick 22% of the time. And that's just sort of a little bit of fluctuation either way, but across all of us, if we're making dong picks, there's like a 22% chance there's a home run on that one.
Okay. That's not that's higher than I thought.
Oh, it's just so hard.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it'd be like 18%, 15%, somewhere in there.
Well, we are like the best in breed here, so. Well, the floor is yours, my man. You've got the lead on me. Take your pick. Who you got for dongs?
Yeah. I'll take I don't want to take anyone in Houston because I don't want to forget and not have a pick. I'll take Francisco Lindor.
Okay. I'll take Jordan Alvarez.
Yeah.
I assume that I
be
can
my
make
guy.
a pick if he's scratched.
Yeah.
Or
It's
do
fine
I
with
need
me.
to like start making
Oh.
do I need to like make them now?
It's fine with me. I don't care. As long as you make it before the game, I
Okay.
think you should be able to.
I will take someone from Houston no matter what at this point, barring all of them sitting. But
All
even
right.
still, I'll still do it.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Waiting on any other picks.
I would bet we're
Emac
going
is
to get
typing.
one. Yeah.
Here comes Matt Olson. Oh, Pete Alonso.
Pete Alonso.
That was my second. That was my second choice.
That's my boy. That's too bad that he's gonna bury me with Pete Alonso.
Let's see. Emac has taken Pete Alonso once. Did not get a dong. Have I taken Alvarez yet?
I think you have once or twice.
I took him once and got a dong,
Nice.
and then I've taken him twice
look at
since
this.
then.
Look at this. Oh, this will cheer you right up. Dude,
Let me grab that as a screenshot so people can see it.
Those two messages could not have come in any closer together. Like Spags already had it typed out and was just waiting to click enter.
I don't know if you guys can see this on my screen right now or now. That's so small.
Dude, that's so good. That's happened to him twice lately.
I know. Let me save this so everybody can see it.
Unbelievable.
Randone makes the pick a half second before Spags gets his pick in.
It was bang bang. I mean, if that's wow. Whatever way it was called on the field, that ruling is standing because that was right after each other. I mean, could not have been closer together.
Perfect. Randone by a nose snatches Alex Bregman from Spags.
That's just
perfect.
Oh, that makes me laugh.
There it is. Alrighty, so Bregman to Randone. Spags is probably breaking stuff in his apartment right now.
Ooh, Oakland lineup out.
Nice.
No Chris Davis.
Thank God.
So we've got we can read it off. We got some time.
Yeah.
Marcus Semien, Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, Ramon Liriano, Seth Brown, Profar, Pinder, Grossman, Murphy. He's not going to make a pick? Is he serious?
Is that what he said?
Yeah. He has to.
I love it.
Oh, dumpster fire. That is such a good reference yesterday. Did you see that tweet yesterday? Let me send it to you.
I did not, but this should be fun.
I don't know if we should show it on screen, but
Okay.
I got it. Here. Why can't I search on Twitter? The guy tweeted at EMAC and it made me chuckle.
Spags isn't waving the white flag. He's waving the brown flag. His picks are doo-doo. I cannot believe he got sniped by a half second. That makes me so happy. That's perfect. All right. Chris Baggs is typing. Here it comes. He's making his pick.
Here, I posted it in chat. That was the pick, and then the response to that pick is it's just like stupid stuff like that. It makes me laugh because it's so senseless.
What a clown.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
What a clown.
Just scrolling through Twitter, Emacs being nice. Still time to get in your pick. And that guy comes back with that.
Oh my God. Unbelievable. I feel so sad. Oh man. Go check out that dude's tweets and replies. Not the nicest person in the world. Using some very negative language to women. Oh man, he writes on these like every day. All trash. Trash picks anyway.
Oh, that's the first time I've seen him.
Fun guy.
Wow. Oh boy. All right. This guy is I don't know if I've ever used the block button, but
oh man, I will never block him. I don't ever want to lose out on some of these garbage people. We had this exact same conversation in a DM earlier.
Yeah.
So all we're waiting on is an Astros lineup, which is arguably the most important one.
It's definitely important. That total could swing quite a bit for Houston.
It can. Oh, we got an ownership update at 6:11. Also very good for me. So where are you at from a hitting perspective?
Yeah, let me load up here. Well, Houston is up there for me, but I think Cleveland.
We got another ownership update 2 minutes ago.
Okay. Oh, all right. Wheeler. Wow. Nothing changed for the top few guys, at least.
Changed big time on FanDuel. Wheeler dropped to 30 from 42. Matt Chapman now the chalk at 31.
Yeah, that's substantial for FanDuel. Bats. Cleveland, I think, is my top stack. Followed closely behind is Oakland. So we talked about Cleveland today. You know, you like Cease, you respect Cease and stuff, but the 5.2 implied total, the fact that they have something to play for, just peace of mind there. And they're just way, way too cheap on DraftKings and Fantasydraft. I want to take a look at them in the top stack tool. Is the top stack tool free today, or is that on Fridays? I think it's on Fridays, so we can't.
Oh, I thought Alex said it was free today. That's what I made the commercial picture today.
It might be free today. We do a piece of free content every day for anybody that's not watching.
Yeah,
that's usually premium. We've been doing it all baseball season, so it's going to be free either today or one of these upcoming days. It looks like Cleveland's pretty fairly valued on DK. Man, teams that are sticking out. Well, the one team that's sticking out right now is Houston. Have you seen them?
No, I haven't. Is it dramatic?
It's not dramatic. I mean, their ownership share is really high, so it can't get too high.
Right.
But it's at a 4.4% higher than their ownership share right now.
Okay, that makes sense.
That leads the slate. You want to take a guess at who the most overvalued team is right now, according to this tool? I think they talked about it on the deeper dive.
Most overvalued on DraftKings or FanDuel?
DraftKings, sorry.
The White Sox?
Yep.
Really? Nice. I didn't hear that. That's fun.
They are over double. Their ownership share is over double, about 2.5 times their top stack percentage. So they are looking like a team, for me at least, that I would like to avoid, especially with limited lineups tonight. The spot's not that great against Savali.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of bad hitters that are getting ownership just because they're cheap. Whereas on the other side, Indians are getting ownership, but it's good hitters that are just too cheap. So I'm fine playing chalk like that. I don't appreciate playing the popular Daniel Palka, who I think, as I so lovingly put it last week, couldn't hit water, falling off of a boat, and Yolmer Sanchez, who is 2.7K on DraftKings. I mean, whatever. He's Yolmer Sanchez. I guess he's leading off, but that's about where the pros end.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad I was able to guess that. I feel pretty good about myself on that. Do you think we're going to get an Astros lineup?
No.
I think we just got another ownership update.
We did. Makad just tagged us.
Good looking out, Makad.
Nothing. I mean, moving a couple percentage points.
Yeah, Wheeler up to 52 now on DK.
So what
Wheeler
I'm seeing,
also back up to 34 on FanDuel.
he's back up to what? 40?
34.
Oh, okay. That's not too problematic. Like when you pull this up and you see all these good players, Puig, Alvarez, Chapman, Lindor, and then the guy that sticks out is Zach Collins and Jack Mayfield, Daniel Polka. These guys are all around 20% or over on DK. That's just, I've got no real interest in being a part of that unless I was really heavy on one of those teams. But yeah.
I guess whatever crunch I'm about to make is going to be the crunch that like moves forward now, huh?
I'm trying to stall to see if I can
You're trying to wait it out?
because it really matters. But I'm just going to make a crunch right now. This is what I'm going to do, actually. Yeah, I'm going to make a crunch right now with Houston out of the lineup, and then they're out of the crunch entirely. And then if I have time, by the time we get to lock, I will redo it.
Now that's not what I wanted to click on at all. Accidentally clicked on the Fantasy Cruncher logo instead of advanced options. So
I swear back in the day, maybe it used to give you a prompt like, do you want to leave this page?
Oh, I would have said no.
Yeah, I've done
no,
that.
I do not.
Times, at bad times.
Good God.
All right, let me take Houston out of my Fantasy Cruncher filter. And let me do 15 lineups. I will take team stacks.
No wonder I can't get this to crunch. I keep overriding my ownership and I don't realize it. There we go. Now we're dancing. Looks like my projections are looking like the ownership projections. Zach Wheeler, Matt Chapman right at the top. Ooh. I already hit my limit. 121. Gonna have to knock that back a bit.
121 for what?
I only got to 121 lineups before it died out. So.
How many are you making tonight?
How many am I playing or how many am I crunching?
Both.
Playing 150, crunching, okay. I don't know, 700. Something in that neighborhood.
Nice. I'm just running 15 right now, so I have some placeholders in case we don't get Houston. And because we got 15 in that $5 and on Fantasydraft, of course. Oakland, Cleveland, going to be my two dominant stacks. Whoa, Miami sneaking in there. Can't have that.
Look at you. You love them. Love the Marlins.
Absolutely not.
That's what I always heard. I heard that you love the Marlins.
Yeah, that's me. I don't know if I've stacked them once this season. That's probably a lie. Definitely stacked them once. But they've wrecked a few more slates than I anticipated. If you would have told me going into the season, how many winning GPP lineups on main slates would the Marlins be a part of? I would have taken the under, whatever number it was set at.
Yeah.
And it's definitely been over whatever the number has been set at.
I wonder if that's like an error in thought. And I don't mean that for you. I would have said the same thing before the season, but they're probably more likely to be a winning stack because of how much people take pitchers against them. So if on days that they do mildly well, those lineups are going to go higher because they're not going to have the pitcher that died against them.
Right. So in the days when it's like a cheap pitcher, like one day I'm remembering, I don't know why I remember this slate so much. Maybe it's because I was so tilted. I was probably going through a losing streak or something. But they were against Velasquez, maybe like late July or something like that. And he was cheap and obviously facing the Marlins. And he was rolling. We had mentioned the Marlins. I think it was me and you, or me and Spags. Someone mentioned like a Marlins stack in chat, and it was like a 15-game Friday slate. We were like, no, because even if Velasquez gets bombed, you still need the stack to score 10 runs
right
on a 15-game slate, even though they're dirt cheap. Like, they still need to perform very well. And that's going to happen sometimes. I guess I underestimate a lot of the times how random baseball actually is, and I get myself in trouble with that. So you're probably right. Like, the general perception of them, a lot of people have, is just never stack them. But there are definitely times, if you are factoring in leverage, like, you should stack bad teams in, kind of bad spots.
Right. Absolutely.
15-game slate, I still don't think that's the time to do it in most spots. But
with that said, I'm not going to have the Marlins tonight.
No, hell no. Not with 15 lineups.
Dude, they haven't showed up yet. 240 in, no single 4-man. Didn't even get them as a 3-man yet.
Actually, I got to one Marlin stack right now. I don't know why. Do I have my caps on? I still have my caps on. That's why. Oh, I put randomness to 100%. Not
ownership caps?
Not ownership caps.
Yeah. I did that earlier. I was like, why is this not crunching? Oh, because I have everybody set to like 8% ownership.
Yeah. Thanks for the stream, guys. We're not done yet.
Yeah, man. We're going to be here for 20 more minutes. Then I'm going to go eat some catfish.
We're going to get the Houston lineup in 18 minutes, too. So you can watch us yell about that.
I probably won't even update anything.
No, I think at this point I'm just going with whatever the projections give me outside of Houston. I don't want to get burned 2 nights in a row.
No, not at all. Feel free to get some questions in, guys. I'm just running crunches on the screen right now. Just a mass of 4 threes. I set a 19% cap, team stack cap, just to get myself a decent little spread across 800 lineups. But Cleveland, Houston, the Mets, and Oakland all smashing the cap. Pittsburgh, White Sox, Cubs, and 1% Angels sneaking in there.
1% Angels against Wade?
3 out of 550 right now. They're probably going to get sorted out, if I had to guess. Just a hunch.
I would think so, but man.
Houston, Oakland, and Cleveland are the top 3 stack percentages, with the Mets coming in 4th. So just based on running this, I can see the similarities in the top stack tool. Cubs are 5th. That is not where I'm getting them. Pittsburgh is 6th in the top stack tool. That is who I'm getting in that spot.
Houston has something to play for. Makad's asking in chat, how much Houston you guys getting? I can't imagine the Stars staying in very late. Randone says Houston has something to play for still. Why wouldn't they play?
They don't really have anything to play for. That's not something that they have to play for.
I thought they had that essentially locked up.
Look, they have to lose out. The Yankees have to win out. I assume that the Yankees get it after that, but that's the scenario. Look, you're not grinding your guys into the dirt for a 1% outcome. That said, I'm still playing Houston because I don't feel like I know how to predict those things. But I'm going to get a lot of Houston. Greek Ink, am I crazy for liking Wade Miley tonight?
No, not at all.
On FanDuel. The answer is yes.
Yeah. So on FanDuel, I mean, what are you paying up for if you're paying for a cheap pitcher?
Yeah.
That would be my question. Like, I mean, okay, if you want to pay up for Bregman and Alvarez and Brantley and do like a 4-man Houston, 4-man Cleveland stack, sure, but you're just not going to use your allotted salary.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that I'll have him in more than like 1 or 2% of my lineups at best. All right, 800 lineups are done. Let's see what I end up with. Crunch FanDuel, Override. Yeah, especially the Astros being so heavy into analytics, they're not even paying attention to home field advantage. It's marginal at best.
Yeah. A game and a half back. They have 3 games after this.
Yeah, it's just it's not happening.
I don't think it is either.
Alrighty. Got to 35% Houston, 20% Cleveland, 20% Oakland, 13% Mets, looking all very similar to the public. By refresh, got to 58.7% Wheeler.
58.7?
Yeah.
That's more than I got to. I'm getting to too much Musgrove right now. I really don't like that. Did his projection come way up?
In Musgrove? I'm not sure. You would know better than I would.
His projection, no, it hasn't come actually up too much. But I did get to way more of him than I thought I would. So I'm going to run more lineups and then delete a few and see what happens.
There you go. Let's see. What is my number 1 lineup? A's, 4-man A's, 3-man Astros, 1-off Cub. Who is it? Tony Kemp? Blech. Okay.
Got to get Tony Kemp in there.
Yeah, I guess. I think I'm going to walk back a little bit of the Oakland exposure, just judging by what I'm looking at here. Maybe not. I don't know. Who should I be getting? There is no like true out and out value to be had on like a sneaky stack today. At least not on FanDuel.
No,
Mets overowned, Cubs overowned, Pittsburgh overowned, Cleveland overowned.
Everyone's cheap.
Yeah.
There's no one's sneaky. Everyone's cheap, and there's 10 teams on the slate, and you kind of know who the best plays are, and that's really it.
Lots of one-off Cubs bats. 35 one-off Cubs.
That's got to be a lot of Hap and Kemp, right?
Kemp, Hap, Robel Garcia, making up a lot of it.
1, 2, 3. There you go.
Yep.
Not a bad idea.
30. There we go. See if that changes anything. Wheeler now at 54. One-off Cubs actually went up. Actually, I got a couple more stacks with the Cubs. But I am double the field on the Astros as of right now.
I'm jealous of you because I can't get to double the field on Fantasy Draft. But
I'm happy about it. I'm not going to lie.
I think you should be.
Not going to lie there. See if I can adjust just a little bit more. Wheeler,
what are you trying?
Wheeler to 61. There we go.
What are you trying to adjust?
Just getting a little bit more unique.
Okay.
I think I was getting a little bit too much overlap. But yeah, 87% of my exposure going to Astros, Indians, A's, and Mets.
Astros, Indians, A's, and Mets. Same, but instead of the Astros, I have the Cubs in there.
Okay.
So those are the teams I'm 5-man stacking. I'm also I'm running 5-mans on Fantasy Draft tonight instead of 6-mans just because of the size of the slate.
Sure.
You could argue 5-game slate. You could still run 6-mans, I think, here, but I just wanted to get a little bit of differentiation in my exposures. Even got a Jaime Barea. I ran 4 uniques also because I have limited lineups.
Okay.
So I usually run 3, but I'm running 4 just to try to get exposure to a bunch of different teams and get some unique combinations, hopefully.
I'm hoping to win some tickets here for the NBA.
Yeah, that's got to be exciting to see that in the lobbies for the first time in a while.
Very. I wish it was a better contest, like a $4 ticket, which I don't really care about. But hey, however many I can get, it just means that those are the ones that I don't have to put in. So
I always get really excited for NHL, and then it's awesome for the first 2 weeks, and then NBA comes along and just steals the show, and then I just get jealous of people playing NBA and with a chance to win 100K every night.
You should get jealous. It's a fantastic product. Uh-oh. What's
I
this
mean,
say?
I think we will have a fantastic product that I'll definitely play sometimes, but
Do you dip your toe into the NBA waters from time to time?
yeah, I'm a complete fish, but whatever.
You said it, man. Oh, I know why that didn't upload.
Well,
I
that's
didn't
'cause it's
upload
true.
the IDs.
I'm not a profitable player in NBA. I mean, no chance.
Doesn't make you a fish.
I guess.
I mean, if you put the time in, it's not like you're putting the time in to care.
No, I should though.
I mean, you're just firing bullets because you're like bored, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get the dummies in here. And if anybody wants to get some questions in, drop them in. We've got 12 minutes until lock, and we've got nothing but time on our hands, everybody. Feel free to dump your questions into chat, Slack, YouTube, whatever you want.
Just put a lot of caps in your lineup and watch the money come in. It didn't work out last playoffs, but
Washington Capitals.
yeah, I was thinking caps too, like
Caps
just
lock?
cap everyone low. But no, he's a Caps fan, so we were going back and forth last postseason.
Did Sir Legend just spell prima donnas like that on purpose? That is not how you spell it at all.
Prima donna. Oh, like before Madonna?
Yeah.
I hope that was on purpose.
Oh, that's fantastic. G. Hendrick, what were dong picks? You should go to Osmo_com. That is our Twitter handle. You should be subscribed to that so that you can see all of the fun stuff we do, including our giveaways, but they're there.
I just posted the link in YouTube chat as well. You want to see that?
Let me Google that for you, man. Make people do the work. Do the Mets score more than 6 runs tonight? No.
More than 6?
Yeah.
I think under 50% of the time.
Anybody that says yes to that is making a terrible answer. Their total is
getting insane, like really good odds.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, do the Mets score more than 6 runs today? Every single sane person should say no.
What about a certain someone who says Vegas lines are trash?
Yeah, he'd be wrong just like he normally is. But no, I mean, the answer has to be no. Otherwise, you should be betting with you should put your money where your mouth is, which it's out there. The odds are out there.
Yep. So I would say no.
Yes.
And I would bet that 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000 and probably be a millionaire.
Every individual team's odds of scoring more than 6 runs today are no.
Correct.
That doesn't mean that a team won't, but
yeah. Do you want to explain that nuanced take?
Yeah, so in theory, you're looking at a 50-50. Now, baseball's a little bit different just because of the distribution of runs. You can't go to the negative. But in theory, like whatever runs you're projected for is essentially the midpoint of runs. So ignoring just distribution quirks, if you have the Mets at projected for 5.1 runs, there is no way that there's a higher than 50% chance that that number is greater than 6. Because they're already under 6.
Yep, that is exactly right. I mean,
unless the distribution is skewed in a really dramatic way.
Yeah. So, well, actually, let's see. Houston's at 6.2 right now. So,
sorry, I'm looking. Rangers acknowledged that Ronald Guzman could have easily caught the 9th inning pop-up, but they let it fall because the Red Sox were intentionally swinging the first pitch in an effort to keep Minor from 200 Ks. Good God.
I don't know. What?
I bet he gets a bonus for 200 Ks. They're costing that dude like $100,000.
Costing what dude $100,000?
Mike Minor. Did you not see the tweet in our Slack?
No, I see it. I see it now. Who cares?
Oh, not me. I just thought it was interesting.
I mean, it costs Randone money, right? So I get why he cares.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I saw some people, but like just from a baseball perspective, like they just want to get the guy the bonus.
Yeah.
Right. And the Red Sox are being dicks about it. So
yeah,
why not just drop it and let him face another guy?
Oh, absolutely. Get him that paper. It's got to be for money.
Has to be.
Yeah. Otherwise, no one would care. Alrighty, guys. 7 minutes to go on the final Thursday live before lock for the baseball season. Coming up after this, 7:30 Eastern time, the boss man, Alex Baker, Ben Rasa, Nolan Kelly. Am I right? Is it Nolan?
Correct. Yep, it's Nolan.
3-man band getting together for Packers Eagles tonight. So they will be live from 7:30 up until NFL lock. And then tomorrow is the final day of full MLB shows and content for the regular season. We'll put it all to bed. Strategy show with Adam and I. Deep dive with probably Adam and Alex, and that's it, I guess. I can't imagine Lofty's back.
Spags is supposed to be on it too, but maybe. I mean, Alex and Adam seems to be working out pretty well. So
absolutely.
If Spags wants to take that show off, I don't think he'll be, too mad if he's gets a Friday afternoon off, but we'll see.
And then live before lock, the final live before lock, you and me closing it out. Might have to have a cocktail.
As it should be.
Yeah, of course. I'll have a cocktail for that one.
It's just been me and you every single day, it seems like, for the past month and a half.
Yeah.
Since NFL started to become a thing.
Fantastic. Boob says do NFL. I don't know what that means, man. You mean talk about the NFL right now?
Who do you think's going to win tonight?
I don't know.
Do you know who's playing?
I know that it's the Eagles and the Packers. I don't know what the line is. I assume the Packers are favored. I have no idea. I haven't looked at it. I don't do Showdown.
You're missing out. I'm doing Showdown.
I won't see a single second of this game. Not for me.
That sucks. I've got a bunch of friends coming over, and we're going to watch this. Like we do it every Thursday and Monday. So
I'm going to watch some sort of TV show after this is over with the wife. And then I'm going to record the Early Bird podcast with Dan Strafford tonight.
Very good. Nice. You're doing the responsible thing. I'm probably just going to drink a bunch of White Claw and eat Buffalo Wild Wings or Hooters. Maybe Hooters. Who knows?
Shout out to Fantasy Draft.
Yeah.
700K Hooters contest.
Yeah. Eat some wings and do Showdown, this guy's saying.
Thanks, Boo.
Maybe guy, maybe girl. I don't know. Kind of up for interpretation, that one.
Anybody can be boob nowadays. Gender neutral boob. Any playoff shows? Maybe. Depends on the slates.
Yeah, to be determined. Size of slate, size of contest, all of that. We'll see what the sites are planning to run out.
Yeah.
And that will determine what we do.
It's good to know that Boob found the caps lock key. Still no Astros lineup, so that's really fun knowing that I have 37.1% Astros on a site that does not have late swap optimizer.
Yeah.
At least it's not the Draftkings mechanism of updates. Yeah. Brett, that would require me to have a fantasy team name.
You don't do season long?
Nah, I haven't done a season long team in like 6 years. It's been a while.
I wish I didn't do season long.
And I always named my season long team Pepperoni Pizza in whatever year it was. Even my logo on Yahoo was a pepperoni pizza as well.
Oh, okay. Just a big pizza guy?
The first time that I ever signed up for a Yahoo Fantasy League, you were able to pick a logo, and one of the logos was a pizza, and I happened to be eating a pepperoni pizza at the time of like doing my first draft. So I just named my team Pepperoni Pizza, and then it stuck.
Oh man, it's funny how like mine was a shirt that's why my DraftKings name is Tommy Nation.
Yeah.
Shirt. I think I have it somewhere in my closet.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be M. Jordan T-Mac, but that was already taken.
Was it really? Damn. Who could that have been?
I don't know. I bet we all wish that we could start over. I mean, mine's what I would want it to be now, but you end up with like a lot of real dumb handles because you don't really realize that the internet is going to be like the central repository for life.
Oh yeah, when I signed up for my DraftKings account, it was like I was in a lecture class, and I was just like, all right, looked down at my shirt, I was like, whatever, Tommy Nation, 1, let's go.
Yeah.
And I signed up, and I won like $100, and I was hooked.
Like how much different would our lives be if Alex signed up as Alex Baker?
Yeah, we wouldn't be called alexbaker.com.
No. No. It would be weird, right? I wonder what the name of the website would be if he never used the handle Awesemo. It would probably be some like generic fantasy term.
Yeah.
I was gonna make some sort of joke there.
Yeah, I know. I figured you had one queued up. I was gonna.
I didn't, and I probably shouldn't. 7:04, guys. If you don't have your lineups in, I don't know what you're waiting for, but you've got 40 seconds.
Yeah, get those in. Preseason NHL is locked. I know you guys are all waiting for that.
Any 20% owned goalies not playing today?
No, I don't even know if I made one lineup because FC didn't populate the players today. So probably had bigger things on their mind with a massive amount of football money being piled in.
You can get that to happen pretty quickly if you want, by the way. Future reference.
Like me personally?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't want
if you want to shoot me a DM.
I don't want to bother anyone.
It's a 5-second task on the back end. I've learned.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's probably good. I didn't waste time playing preseason NHL DFS, but I will note that for future use.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be Sahil Sud.
Yeah. BakersDozen.com, man.
Baker's Dozen.
Alrighty, guys. We are locked. Final Thursday live before lock. Here we are. Alrighty. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Best of luck tonight. Shout out to Fantasy Draft. Go to fantasydraft.com. Use the promo code AWESEMO. Get a 7-day trial of up to $1,000 in rake-free entries. The only place that you could play rake-free daily fantasy, clear across the board. Every dollar they take in entry fees goes right back out to the users. Can't beat it. Come join me for week 4 in the NFL. I mean, go play baseball as well, but come join me for week 4 in the NFL. Jake, anything else?
Yeah, come join me as well. I'll be playing some on Fantasy Draft, so should be playing there if you like money or, if you're a losing player, you want to lose less. But especially if you're, trying to win and make this a profitable hobby, you're not going to find a better place to do that than at Fantasy Draft.
Gotta love it. Thank you guys for joining us. Best of luck tonight. We will talk to you again later.